What do you have no sympathy for? Hey, my family is like this. I've gone no contact because they're all narcissistic assholes, aside from my dad who is just an enabler. Then I just found out recently they're all anti-vax even though the comorbidities are strong with them, so that'll likely sort itself out. It's amazing to me that they've preached family like the end-all be-all religion, and then refused to help protect each other for the most selfish reasons. It's a weird one to think about really because as a child, I didn't see the underlying manipulation and poor treatment my parents got. My mom was very good at protecting my brother and I from it all, at the expense of her mental health a lot of the time. I don't think it hit me until I was a teenager and I realized that my dad was stressed and nasty on certain days because my grandmother had been whispering in his ear. There was rarely any huge dramas, but she was very good at little remarks and actions that build up and stay on your mind. So controlling. It definitely impacted my brother and I badly. It took me years to open up to my husband's family because it felt so alien to be around family that were not constantly sniping at each other. I hope you and your children don't have to go through it in future. Families can suck so much sometimes. This reminds me of a time I was at a walk-in bird sanctuary. They type where the birds are free to fly around. I was keeping my distance from the birds, but another tourist wasn't. Of course, they just had to take a picture with the pelican-type bird of some kind that was almost taller than my hips, with a wingspan almost as large as my outstretched arms, and a large, 2 liters jug size, mean-looking pelican beak. So of course after they upset and anger it, they run off and leave it to run me off. Seriously, everyone pays when you anger animals, not just the person who angered the animal. Saw a bunch of kids taunt stray dogs by slapping them on the side of their face. Dogs can't really see the slaps coming from their blind spots. And when they started chasing them and barking, the kids ran away screaming, and those were common cute strays, the ones that you could pass by or even pet. They were fed by a small restaurant close by. Really makes my blood boil that some people want to make problems to others simply because there's none. It's a hard thing to say having had abusive parents myself, but most of the time it's a crappy cycle. They were abused and lacked the self-awareness to not continue it on. I'm not saying that it's right what they are doing, just that maybe saying you have no sympathy for people who were themselves abused is a little on the rough side. Of course I have a very forgiving nature, so maybe I'm not the right person to chime in. Television evangelists who prey on their elderly viewers. Touch the TV with your right hand, and use the phone in your left hand to donate. Jesus will heal you bullshit. Those televangelists follow the model of prosperity gospel in which they believe that wealth is a sign of God's favor, and that by simply believing and praying for money, in addition to donating copious amounts of money to various Christian ministries, is what will take you there. Last week one of those bastards claimed that Jesus hasn't come back because they didn't give him enough money. https://londonstime.com/ The minister claims that Jesus did not come back because people did not donate enough money. /465538/ https://www.huffpost.com/entry/televangelist needs 54 million jet to spread gospel around the world _5B0D761A4B0FDB2A57264C. I cannot upvote this enough. When my father-in-law was actively passing, he was soothed by having the TV evangelists on. Mostly it was music, which isn't horrible. It was when they start preaching if you believe you will be healed. He had stage 4 cancer. You are telling a dying man he didn't believe enough. This man along with my dad were the biggest believers I know, and you are telling me both of them died because they didn't believe enough. Fuck off with that. I feel the same way about psychics for the same reason. People have literally gone on national TV and made up bullshit like telling parents their children were dead when they were actually alive, and said things to people like your loved one is waiting for you in the afterlife, which made them kill themselves. Also, they could scam a buck out of vulnerable grieving people by making up powers that don't exist. And if you believe psychic powers really exist, go claim the $1 million prize from the Randy Foundation and prove you have real abilities in scientifically testable conditions which control for centuries-old charlatans' tricks. Really, anybody who exploits vulnerable people at their lowest to scam them out of money falls into this category for me. My friend's dad is a retired corrections officer. He worked in the same prison for almost 30 years before he retired. He said he had seen hundreds of pedophiles come in and out who got absolutely wrecked behind bars. He said one of the worst was when he first started. Chamo got locked up and for some reason opened his mouth about what he was in for. That's basically guaranteeing your death as soon as the confession leaves your lips. The dude in question just so happened to be cellmates with someone whose younger brother had been severely sexually abused by one of his family members. You can already tell where this is going. My friend's dad said he's never heard such anguished cries for help in his life. Loud banging, clanging and crying echoed through the cell block. Some prisoners in other blocks were apparently cheering this on as it happened. My friend's dad and his co-worker get to the cell and see the chamo trying to crawl out of the cell. He then gets dragged back and the sound of beatings continues. The dude ended up dying on the way to the hospital. According to my friend's dad, all his ribs were broken, his skull had multiple severe breaks and one of his lungs collapsed. He had a few broken fingers and almost all of his teeth were missing. He died from a combination of breathing complications due to his tenderized lungs and complications brought on by his massively hemorrhaged stomach. His dad does not know what penalty came about the assailant. Yep, I got in a car wreck that totaled the car. Everyone was fine. But my mom had a panic attack and has PTSD now. We wanted them to pay for the medical bills and the car tow, but they sued us for some bullshit and we lost the case. I should probably mention something very important. They were driving on the wrong side of a freeway. The only reason they won is because it was a small town in Colorado and they happened to be from there, and we were apparently some monsters from Kansas who just wanted to go on a fucking family vacation. The good news is we're appealing the case and hopefully this time shit will go better. The bad news is it took 3 fucking years for these assholes to send the information our lawyers requested. Epstein, when neither Clinton, Bush, or Obama punished the piece of shit. Polanski, Trump, Barr, Jeff Sessions, Roger Stone, Giuliani, Alan Dershowitz, Roy Moore, Jim Jordan, Nixon, Kemp, Rick Scott, Ken Paxton, Jason Ravensborg, Ansikulas, David Perdue, Kelly Loeffler, and other Congress people that committed insider trading, regardless of party. Junko for Utah's murderers, Larry Nassar's enablers, et al. I would sack Cuomo and Matt Gaetz, but I believe they're still under investigation, which is a lot more than can be said for a lot of these cretins. Especially when the owners want to run their businesses as turnkey operations where they just come by and collect the checks. I respect the small business owner who is there 50 hours a week and works harder than anyone else. I have no sympathy for a guy who bought the rights to 3 fast food franchises and doesn't even know how to use the griddle, but puts up a "if you have time to lean you have time to clean" poster. Claims adjuster here for an auto insurance company and you hate them now. Don't do my job. Was going a little too fast and hit a guardrail in the rain. I don't judge and know you are embarrassed, but we have been there. Changed lanes and forgot to look and swerved last minute but still hit the other car. That's fine and thanks for understanding you are liable. Chose to drink when we are taught from the time we are in diapers not to drink and drive, and chose to keep drinking knowing you had to drive home. No sympathy. The sad thing is these drivers often have no sense of responsibility. I had a claim recently where first my policyholder tried to insist she only had a couple of drinks. Then, when we took her recorded statement, she insisted someone had spiked her drink and she didn't even remember hitting that man on bicycle nor how she even got home that night, only waking up the next day at her house, and she never spoke with the police. She emails me over the police report, which states that she hit a man on bicycle and a witness saw this and called the police. She got out and saw she hit someone and got back in her car and fled the scene, but luckily the person she hit was injured but okay, and the witness was able to get a picture of her plate. While the officer was responding that call, he got another call that her car had been found abandoned a few miles down the road and was not drivable due to damage from hitting a fence. He went to the first scene and made sure the medical team was there and had another officer meet the victim at the station before he went to the second scene, and as he wrote his report, found several empty bottles of Fireballs in the passenger seat of the car. He then went to my policyholder's house where her boyfriend answered and admitted that he had gone to pick her up from the second scene because she had called him and told him that she had been drinking and had an accident. The officer noted she had come to the door, admitted to doing the same. Someone spiked her drink, all right, she did. The shopping cart is the ultimate litmus test for whether a person is capable of self-governing. To return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task and one which we all recognize as the correct, appropriate thing to do. To return the shopping cart is objectively right. There are no situations other than dire emergencies in which a person is not able to return their cart. Simultaneously, it is not illegal to abandon your shopping cart. Therefore, the shopping cart presents itself as the apex example of whether a person will do what is right without being forced to do it. No one will punish you for not returning the shopping cart. No one will fine you or kill you for not returning the shopping cart. You gain nothing by returning the shopping cart. You must return the shopping cart out of the goodness of your own heart. You must return the shopping cart because it is the right thing to do, because it is correct. A person who is unable to do this is no better than an animal, an absolute savage who can only be made to do what is right by threatening them a law and the force that stands behind it. The shopping cart is what determines whether a person is a good or bad member of society. Glenn Danzig. There are two manifestations of racism, and both are terrible. The I hate them purple people, they aren't even human, aggression to them should be allowed, and the oh, purple people are much better than the rest of us, they are pure while we, non-purples, are corrupt. They are in harmony with nature and virtuous. I find both kinds of racists despicable, but the second type are way worse because they are acceptable. They then take up beds from people who could have really needed it, delaying non-mandatory surgeries that actually should not be delayed. I know someone who needs surgery due to cancer who had it delayed. It may not be ethical and humane, but I feel like people who don't get vaccinated, and have no legitimate reason not to, should be lower priority than those who would need medical attention for other reasons. Of course, that is a horrible thought and would never happen. But it angers me to see people's stupidity put others in danger. My mom died of COVID on Monday. She didn't get vaccinated. I 1000% blame the people who started all this bullshit of misinformation about COVID and the vaccine. My mom was genuinely scared of the vaccine. She didn't trust it. She was in the hospital for about 5 weeks, on the ventilator for 3. Last Saturday we made the decision to put her into hospice. Monday they removed her from life support and she died 12 minutes later. I feel lost. I feel a depth of sadness I've never felt before. I'm angry. I don't feel like my mom died. I felt like she was taken from us. I couldn't say goodbye in person. October 10th will be 7 months I've been in the hospital waiting for a heart, bilateral lung transplant. I can't even go to her funeral on Saturday. She saw me the week before we found she had COVID. Thankfully I didn't catch it. My mom was killed with people's words. Some people even told her that the news reports of the people in the ICU telling people to get the vaccine, that it was fake, that they are actors. It's because of people like them that I can't call my mom right now, that my mom will never meet her future grandkids, that I won't have my mom for my heart, lung transplant, that we can't watch Friends together, have long conversations at the stupidest things. Because of people like this, my daughter couldn't have both her parents visit at the same time in the NICU, and next week we can't both go to her first chemo appointment. She's 5 weeks old, getting chemo, and both parents can't go because people refuse to get vaccinated and strain the system, which then causes hospitals to have all these rules in place to try and prevent any spread. So yeah, no sympathy for those who chose not to get the vaccine, but are perfectly able to, and pay the price. People crying when they're caught intentionally doing something wrong. I used to handle over 60 people and would do random checks on their work from time to time, catch some who think they can do step 1 of a 15-step process and consider the work done. They think crying is going to work on me when I talk to them privately to discuss the quality of work, but the truth is it makes me more annoyed once they start crying. It's not pleasant for me either. I don't get a kick out of it, and we both wouldn't be doing this awkward dance if they just did the minimum of what's expected of them. Crying for deliberately breaking the rules does not get sympathy for me. People who outright refuse to get vaccinated or to wear a mask and are now sick with COVID, need ventilators or ECMO and can't get it, or spend weeks in the ICU. They brought everything they are experiencing on themselves. They are not heroes or objects of sympathy or pity. They're a fucking disgrace, and their families didn't give a shit about anyone until calamity came for them. I do feel sorry for their kids, though, who suffer needlessly. It's pretty depressing the amount of people who complain about bad things that happened in different countries, and the oppression people faced, yet they support communism. A teacher at my school has LGBT+ flags in his classroom and is super progressive, but has posters of Che Guevara. He's also the least professional and trashiest teacher, so it's a bit of a bad look for communism. Not that it can never look good. People who don't like cats. I get that some people are afraid of dogs because they can actually be dangerous, but cats, they're just little dudes. 2. Child-free people who openly hate kids and are rude to them, call them crotch goblins, etc. I'm child-free myself, even got sterilized. I don't like kids and they can be loud and annoying. But, same thing here. They are just little dudes. Kids are people and deserve to be treated kindly and with respect just like adults. Abusive parents. Parents are responsible for their kids' entire formation, and if you abuse your kids, you're setting them up for a lifetime of failure and torture. Not even years of therapy can completely obliterate all the trauma you gave them that will fuck up every single relationship they have, whether that be platonic, romantic, or even relationships at work with their boss. It is unforgivable what you did to that human. I don't care if you are going through a hard time, I truly have no empathy for you. People who expect help when they won't even help themselves. Why would I help you if it's apparently not important enough to you for you to even make the effort of helping yourself? E.g. anti-vaxxers/anti-maskers who get sick and then turn around and expect the doctors they didn't trust to help them, or even just the person who asks you for help with their uni assignment only to not put any effort into it themselves. Since everybody is simply naming things they hate, I'll try to read deeper into the title and assume you are referring to things people generally do have sympathy for, but I myself do not. Victims who were fully able to keep themselves from being victims, but were either too stubborn or stupid to do so. If an antelope runs toward a cheetah, the antelope deserves to be eaten. In some cases, the victim is to blame, too. The scenario I had in mind was my neighbor's daughter. She's 17. And wanted to go out wearing a very revealing dress. Her dad told her no, that it was cold out. She screamed loud enough to wake the whole building, doing the my body, my choice routine. She got into a fight with her friend, who drove home without her, leaving her to walk home 3 hours in the dead of night, wearing next to nothing. She gave up halfway through, lied down on a bench, and got hypothermia. Barely survived. I will take the down votes and say we all have our vices. You're on Reddit right now, so I know that for a fact. Lamel. I think no sympathy is a bit harsh. Is it obese people's fault they're obese? Absolutely. But, like how I can sympathize with drug addicts, I can also sympathize with how difficult it is to break sometimes lifelong habits. Yes, I know getting in shape and getting off drugs are very different levels of difficulty. Fat people. No, It's not anyone else's fault you're fat. It's 100% your own fault, and it's a choice. I've lived in Europe, and seeing fat people in most places is like WTF. Your body reflects your lifestyle, and fat people have no excuses at all, especially if that person is in their 20s and 30s. You have a relatively small window of your life to be attractive and youthful, and people piss it away by eating sugars, carbs, and invest excess while planting their asses down on the couch all night.